Welcome everyone to the global gathering Shamanism for Inspired Action, from vision to creation. This event is designed to share how shamanism can inspire actions and enrich our lives, our communities, and Mother Earth with deep love, compassion, gratitude, and joy. Shamans are the torchbearers of the inner light, taking action motivated by a deep sense of purpose. Shamanism is a way to tap into creative inspiration that comes from within, the spirit we are, that will lead us to take authentic steps towards what our hearts and souls desire most. We will discuss what's possible when the invisible realms are acknowledged and honored, when nature is loved and celebrated as a part of ourselves. We'll explore how surrendering to our helping spirits, to our ancestors, can help support our actions. Shamanism provides a space to deepen our inner knowledge so that new ideas, new thoughts, and pathways can emerge. And in a time when it can be tempting to define ourselves solely through external concepts, your participation at this global gathering will inspire you to reconnect with your inner wisdom and to act in alignment with your spiritual source. So it is with gratitude and great joy that I welcome everyone to be part of this global gathering. I'm Celeste Roche, I'm your host for this event, and today I'm very, very happy and excited to present you Crow. Crow, thank you so much for being here with us. So Crow, you are the founder of Shamanic Voyage. You've been involved with shamanism for a long time now, to various degrees in the mid-70s. So we're very honored to have you. And you began your training formally with both Michael Horner and Don Agustin Rivas Vasquez in the mid-90s. Crow has worked with shamans in North, South, and Central America, as well as Asia and Europe. And his teaching practice is primarily of core shamanism, but has been influenced by his exposure to a variety of other shamanic cultures and initiations. Crow has included sweat lodges, drumming workshops, and healing services in his shamanic practice. He's active in the international environmentalist group Sacred Earth Activism. Thank you for all the work you're doing. And is an ambassador for the Shaman's Directory. So he also produces medicine tools such as natural hide and drums, rattle, and smush fans. He's an Amazon-trained curandero, a legally ordained minister, a Horner shamanic counselor, and has completed many other advanced trainings offered by both traditional and contemporary shamans. So thank you again, Crow, for being with us. Thank you so much. It's an honor to have you, as I said before. And today, when I invited Crow, you've shared with me about the importance of collaboration. So today your talk is the importance of collaboration in achieving our visions. So first, how do you define vision? And in your opinion, what is the role, what's its role in creation? What's the role of vision in creation?
Well, thank you, Celine. When you first brought this topic up and you mentioned vision immediately, the saga of shamanic voyages came to mind because it's an example precisely of having a vision and working toward it. When I was young, I was attracted to this sort of work. I stumbled around in a lot of different things, and eventually just came to the point where I was abandoning isms. I tried a lot of things, but I really found that animism was the only ism that I could truly fully embrace. Ever since I was young, I knew that everything had a spirit of some kind. It might be radically different than the ones we, naturally think of, people, animals. For some people, it's easy for them to perceive trees having spirit. But the more closely that you look at the world and your surroundings, and the more deeply you look into yourself, I think the more you can see the reflection of spirit in everything. So that was my ism. And the term shamanism for me was one I was familiar with, but more from an anthropological sense. I knew that it described a certain type of practice, but like a lot of people, I kind of categorized it with priest shaman or a religion of some kind. And it wasn't really until I discovered the work of Michael Harner that I really became clear on shamanism being something very different than I had originally thought. It was more about a real fundamental spirituality that comes natural to all humanity. He talked about how long it's been around and how simplistic it is at its core, and how self-evident it is that when people practice shamanism, the reason that it perpetuates over time is because it works. It fulfills people, and that kind of drew me into learning more about it as he understood it. So I developed a relationship with the Foundation for Shamanic Studies in the 90s, and it coincided with also beginning my work in the Amazon with Don Agustin Rivas Vasquez. Uh, I had learned of both of these men through reading, and I was very, very blessed to have been able to meet them both while they were still living and at the height of their practice. Um, the the shamanism that I was learning about through the foundation was very nuts and bolts. It explained the methodologies that were used, a lot of the history and so forth. But when working in the Amazon, it was a totally different kind of experience because it was living. And my work with Don Agustin was very very central to my own personal practice, and it became the center of what became my vision. The foundation stimulated me intellectually. My work with Don Agustin stimulated me spiritually and emotionally, and really gave me excitement for this kind of work. And when I returned from my first visit with him, I had this inspiration that I want to share what I just experienced with other people. And that's where the vision for developing something like Shamanic Voyages began. It was a number of years. I went back and deepened my studies, both with Don Agustin and with the foundation. I did advanced trainings with the foundation. I continued to go back and forth to the Amazon. But I also took a bit of a break in between because all of us have real life. And I had a young child, and it made it impossible to travel as freely as I wanted to. But I never strayed too far away from really being in the complete awareness of how important this work was to me. Initially, I started a I guess you would call it a sole proprietorship called Shamanic Journeys. And I did a couple trips, small trips with people. I started doing some workshops and things. But that wasn't really the vision. The vision was a living thing. And the closer I got to it, the more clearly I saw it, and the further away it became at the same time. And it really gave me direction. So ultimately, many years later, as I was in the 3-year program with the foundation, a fellow student said, "Let's go to Mongolia." And this was the nudge that I needed. And I said, "Well, if we're going to go somewhere, I want to start this vision. I really want to bring it to life of doing trips, and a lot of them." To South America as well, where my depth of knowledge was a little more. But I love the idea of going to new places too, because I found that the more I looked into shamanism, like Michael Harner discovered, the more similarities I found than differences as you compare different cultures. And that was fascinating to me. And I thought that rather than concentrate on what makes people different, I wanted to concentrate on what makes people alike when it comes to this practice, and look for the commonalities, whether they're in motivation or practice or whatever, because that's what really inspires fraternity. Real connections between people from various backgrounds. So, without trying to go too far afield here, we did our Mongolia trip. I filed for nonprofit status here in the United States to form a corporation, a nonprofit corporation, and we did our maiden trip in Mongolia, and it was magical. Many of the people who accompanied us on the trip were students of the foundation, but not all. There were people who came from the Four Winds Society, another school here in the U.S., founded by Alberto Viola, who shared a lineage with me in the Amazon. So it was really wonderful. We arrived ill prepared, and perhaps not with wide open, welcoming arms. But our experience was genuine, and by the time it was over, we were deeply moved, as were our hosts, I feel. And that was the beginning of the vision. The collaborative aspect of what Shamanic Voyages does became more and more important with every different culture that we worked with. And although from time to time I did see jealousy in the shamanic world, and people, talking one style down as opposed to another, that really began to recede the more I looked at when people come together. The strength of collaboration, not only in the sharing, but also in the influencing of one another. The concept of the eagle and the condor, which a lot of people in the Americas are familiar with, talks about reunification of the practices of North America and South America, because at one point in time, they recognized that they had similar roots in the basis of their medicine work. And in this day and age, and when the world is really changing in so many fundamental ways, it's essential that spiritual traditions are recognized and kept alive, and joined together to support a global community that's becoming more and more integrated all the time. So I don't know if that answered your question.
Yes,
I kind of
absolutely.
tend to
I
go
mean,
far afield.
yeah, no, you're right on on it. And I mean, the vision you've received and welcomed were quite extraordinary in the way you accomplished them and made them real, in this realm, on this realm. Um, Talking about that, would you share with us how spirits have played a role in contributing to the success of working, toward your vision? Can you tell
Mhm.
us more about that?
Yes, absolutely. Well, at the root of it, the work that I do, whether you want to call it shamanic practitioner or curandero or anything, essentially involves the communication with and interaction with spirits. And whenever there is a task, um, the hardest part of resolution is formulating, how do I ask spirit to assist me? In healing, it's fairly straightforward. If you have a client that has an illness or some kind of affliction, that's how you address your intention, and you ask the spirits for assistance in healing. But for divination or just for looking for direction in life, it can be very, very useful. And one example that I shared with you before, that was very relevant to real world is in 2020. I had a group that was a little bit larger than any group that I'd had up to that time for the Amazon, and I was a little bit concerned because I was the only facilitator, and it just seemed like a lot of people, and I just wanted to feel relieved of the angst that I had around it. So I took a very straightforward intention to an ancestor spirit and asked, what can I do in ordinary reality that will help me to keep my group safe? Very simple, straightforward intention. In this case, I went to an ancestor spirit who I had a long and trusting relationship with, and I got a very unambiguous response from her. There was some of the usual symbolism and things that needed thinking about, but the thrust of it was that I was given a ritual to perform once I arrived in the Amazon, and part of it involved making some physical actions and drawing designs on the ground and holding an image in my mind. And the purpose of the ritual was to connect everyone who was in the group in a protective web. This was given through spider medicine. And when I emerged from this journey with this information, I wrote it down in detail, and I really was quite affected by the clarity of what I was supposed to do. So a few months passed. It was time, and when we got there, I performed this ritual by myself in the temple where we'd be holding ceremonies, and I was immediately overcome with a sense of confidence. I really felt relieved of the angst I was looking to address. The really interesting part of this was that shortly thereafter, there was a global pandemic, and the borders of Peru were closed. No road traffic, no river traffic or air traffic was allowed throughout the country. So I suddenly had, a group of mostly Americans that were unable to leave. And the fact that I felt so confident that they would be protected, and we were, because we were in this beautiful camp. Food literally fell from the trees or swam down the river. We had everything that we needed to survive, and we were not cut off from the outside world. We were able to communicate, and we did just fine. I really felt that if I had not gotten the assurance from Spirit that I had in doing that ritual, that I would have been caught by surprise. I would have felt unprepared for disaster. But as it was, I really felt quite strongly that everything would be fine, and it was. Everything worked out just great. We were able to navigate our way into special permission from the military to travel. And even though we hit a couple bumps along the road, we were able to get ourselves to an airport for an evacuation flight that the State Department had been able to arrange. So it was a really interesting adventure, but I really felt fully supported by Spirit, and that gave me the confidence to be able to do this whenever I feel that I need some kind of direction or inspiration. And to go full circle, vision comes through inspiration.
Yeah.
And this experience and this practice of operating this way is so much more valuable than trying to think my way through things. I can think pretty well, but thinking isn't everything. There is a lot of power. There was no way I could have foreseen that a pandemic was coming. There was no way I could have foreseen um, how people would respond to being uh, not abandoned, but stranded in a foreign country, uh, in a very unusual set of circumstances, because you couldn't just go home and stop playing the game. We were in the jungle,
Yeah.
and um, we continued to do our work. We got a lot of good work done, and those people who are on that trip certainly will remember that trip as being a very pivotal time in their lives.
Mhm. Yeah, it's very powerful. Thank you for sharing this example. I mean, this is quite quite a big event that occurred. So to keep you calm and to remain at peace and in your own power during all this, it's really beautiful, and your relationship to spirit is strong. So how do you, because I'm very interested, again, in the um, richness that you get out of your practice through your collaboration. So you mentioned that collaborating with visions that are aligned with yours, are very, I mean, important for you. So can you tell us more? Do you have, other example of that, and what you were able
Yeah, I
to
haven't.
create out of
Yeah,
it?
a number of examples. And when in the Amazon, working with now the son of Don Augustine is who I work with now. He and I became very, very close in past years. When we're there, he has given me his full support and trust to include my flavor of practice with his. Initially, I was bringing people down there to experience Amazonian Corindismo, or their brand of shamanism. Um, and that still does happen, but he has been very open to not only learning about the use of the drum, which he uses generally as a musical instrument to support his ceremonies, but he's been learning more about using the drum to journey without medicine, and to experience fundamentally the same kinds of teachings that he does with his his practice. So now we have really developed a bit of a fusion in teaching through our trips to the Amazon. In the Andes, Don Carlos has invited me to participate in some of his despacho ceremonies. This is a skill that he has learned, over a long period of time, and it's done in a very prescribed way. But he has also enjoyed learning some of the ways that I do things differently, and has welcomed me to participate in ceremonies with him. And it has really strengthened those friendships and those connections. And I think has also awakened a curiosity in people who are very familiar with their own native tradition, and they're learning about others and how they see things differently, and they're getting the same experience that I value in seeing how, when other people use different practices for fundamentally the same reasons, um, the real magic of the reality of spirits comes through.
Mhm.
We speak to them in different languages. We speak to them with different rituals, but the real power of the collective consciousness and the spirit world uh, moves across cultures, and it's a really beautiful thing to witness and participate in.
Yeah.
Um, the other aspect of collaboration is in the here and now, in the real world. It is very difficult, if not impossible, to really uh, love, um, have a love of spirit and have a love of the natural environment without stepping back and recognizing that we have responsibility not only to honor it through ceremonies and just mental and emotional recognition, but we have to do things. We have to take actions. And a couple of those ways are, one, nurturing community, which the Shaman's Directory does. And when I learned of what they were doing, I recognized them as being kindred spirits, giving a central fire for people from various backgrounds to come and join around and share their different experience and promote one another is a beautiful thing. And that's one of the other visions that I've been exposed to that I share and I feel very strongly about. Another is sacred earth activism, which you mentioned at the beginning too. I would like to read a quote. Let me see. Yes. This is on the home page of Sacred Earth Activism, and this is what drew me in completely to their vision. It says, "It is in the convergence of spiritual people becoming active and active people becoming spiritual that the hope of humanity now rests." That's a quote by Van Jones. And truer words have never been spoken, because we are at a pivotal place in human history, not just for us, but for the very balance of nature itself. And without us actually putting our feet on the ground and taking steps to educate others and to have our deeply held beliefs heard by those in power and speaking truth to power, we really can't do anything to interrupt the downward spiral that we've been experiencing. We really need to stand up. And for an example, just last week, I guess it was, we did a short video from the Amazon with Viejo and Nina, and they were wearing their Stop the Tunnel, Save Stonehenge t-shirts. And they were able to speak out about the importance of sacred sites and how essential it is to honor that relationship that we have, regardless where we're from. We are a global community in many ways, and our expressions of spirituality differ tremendously around the globe, but sacred is sacred. And it's really important that people are reminded of that. And when people want to profane the sacred for the sake of greed, that has to be called out. It really needs to be. And so, again, someone else's vision that when I was exposed to it, I could immediately embrace it. And in holding our own vision, it's really important to keep it succinct and as simple as possible, because if you compare it to working for a patient or a client, they may have a lot of issues. You don't just work on all of them at the same time. You're not going to get very good results. The same goes for any other kind of vision. If you keep it simple and concise and you work toward it, that is one way to accomplish an aim. And if there is something totally different, then you focus on that separately. It's like, doing several sessions for someone. When healing is needed, a lot of times there are different approaches. I celebrate anyone who has a real vision. If I'm attracted to working for that vision, all the better. But just to have a vision gives a person a purpose in life. It also inspires them to act. Simply believing in something isn't enough. Vision is different than having goals. Goals can be achieved. Vision, you can only keep getting closer and closer as it goes farther back and becomes more magnificent.
Yes, it unfolds. It unfolds. Yeah.
Yes.
Keeps unfolding. I love what you said about celebrating, others' vision. Like, that's so genuine of you and so beautiful, because there is this energy, spirit, that comes through in getting us together and not separated. So it's really, really inspiring. Thank you for saying that. And what do you suggest, for our audience here today, who, who are shamanic practitioner or people who don't know yet so much about it but want to know more?
Mhm.
What do you suggest to them if they'd like to birth a project? Um, and how can they receive this, in their shamanic practice and discovery, or if their experience, like what would you like to suggest with all the experiences that you've gained over the years?
Well, as much as I love all the different varieties of shamanic tradition I've experienced with other people, my personal practice is primarily with the drum. Um, and I really believe that you can go under the drum to solve just about any question that you have. Um, the the intention that is so essential for working with the drum is of vital importance. Anybody can feel very relaxed and dreamy and have visions while being under the shamanic drum beat, but it's the intention that really produces results. So if I want to know something, or if I want to be inspired, I will enter a journey with a well-constructed intention for specifically what I'm looking for. Um, in the case of the story I just told prior to the 2020 trip, um, it was a what do I do kind of question. Um, if someone has that tickling notion that there is something important that they are meant for, but they don't know what it is, that sounds to me like you need a vision quest. And doing that under the drum, uh, I think could be approached by having an intention, asking spirit for the inspiration for your life's purpose. Um, they don't sound like terribly complicated or beautiful words, but a simple intention like that can produce amazing results. Um, the the discipline of doing a drum journey is important. I think it's really important to have established a strong relationship with helping spirits before you can expect really good results from your intentions. So there is a long tradition of first things first in doing this work. When working solely with the drum, discovering power animal, helping spirits uh, are among the basics. Uh, Learning how to be imbued with personal power, asking for personal power for when you feel depleted. Those are all real basics. And once you have some predictability as to how your journeys are going to go, and you learn to navigate the non-ordinary landscape of being under the drum, then your intentions can become stronger and more specific. But I have every confidence that if someone knows they have a vision but don't know what it is, that is a very, very effective way to discover your personal vision.
Thank you so much for your insight and wisdom around this practice. Thank you so much. And I'd like to ask, you're doing a lot of traveling. So I know that you're going to Sweden this summer soon.
Mhm.
So is there anything else you'd like to share about your upcoming events? Anything that we can do to support your organization? Anything you'd like to share about your beautiful projects?
Thank you for the opportunity. Yes, we are going to go to Sweden, to Lapland specifically. This will be the first time for shamanic voyages for this area of the world. We will be using a partner that we've used before in our Mongolia trip, and we'll be working with a Sami shaman for about a week during midsummer. So it's a great time to be there. It'll be a fresh exposure to new traditions. We know a little bit about them, but not as much as we will. And I really like adding new opportunities to our lineup of trips. Usually, we repeat our trips to Peru and Bolivia. That's where I have the deepest roots. And I am really looking forward to resuming our Andes trip. The Andes trip includes the Sacred Valley area. It includes the Islands of the Sun and the Moon on Lake Titicaca in Bolivia, and a couple other areas of Peru where there are some really meaningful sacred sites. We'll be working with a couple of different shamans who I miss terribly. I really love them like brothers and sisters. And it's been too long since we've done this trip. It was interrupted during the political troubles a couple of years ago when President Castillo was deposed and there was violence. A number of people were killed. Traffic was interrupted and so forth. And I just didn't feel it was proper to expose the group to potential dangers on our trip. Things have gotten much better, and I'm really looking forward to resuming that. There's talk about going to Scotland. There's a Scottish shaman that I am friends with and haven't seen for a while. He was going to collaborate with us for a trip through Scotland, some of the sacred sites, and a focus on the yew tree and its importance to Celtic shamanism. So there's a lot of possibilities out there, and I'm hoping to interest younger people who can begin to step in and do some of the heavy lifting because I'm getting old, but I'm going to keep doing this as long as I can.
Oh, thank you so much for all the work that you do throughout your organization and also, Sacred Earth activism. This is really beautiful. Thank you so much. And you have more to offer. You're very generous, Crow. Our beautiful people being interviewed here, are often offering a gift. And you've chosen to offer 3 1-hour session, individual session. So to those of you who are listening, today, thank you so much. And if you're interested to have a session with Crow, you'll have to send an email, and all the information will be listed on the conference website. And the first people who will join you will have this wonderful opportunity to work with you. So thank you so much. It's very generous of you. And I want to mention that, again, you are a donated-based organization. So if anyone wants to contribute to your work, beautiful work, supporting traditions, on many continents, please, go ahead. Crow's website is on the website conference as well. All the information are there. So we welcome any support. And thank you again for your generous contribution to today's talk. Thank you so much. Is there anything you would like to add? Anything you would like to say? And how visions are important today? Maybe something around collaboration, which you've been, working towards around the globe. So anything you'd like to share that you think could make a
Well, I
difference?
want to thank you, first of all, for taking on this tremendous effort to present an opportunity for so many people to speak. That in itself is a tremendous act of collaboration. It was the spirit of collaboration that introduced us to one another. We met through the Shaman's Directory and found through conversation that we have a lot of mutual acquaintances in the shamanic world. I think it is so important for us to work together and to network, not only to learn from one another, but just in sharing experience. We never know what we will say or we will hear that will be of tremendous value, either to us or to someone that we're attempting to help. working in isolation, no matter how high you reach, is really for naught, because it's only through sharing that the value is really really appreciated. And I know that I am deeply grateful to everyone who's shared with me over the years, and I just can't say I can't say enough about the importance of working together and putting ego aside. That is really vital to our collective health.
Thank you so much for your wisdom. And you've been definitely living that life, a very rich life, meeting so many people with medicine that really can make a difference for
Well,
nature, for our world, for our relationships. So thank you so much for doing all of what you do with such a generous heart. Thank you so much, girl. Thank you. Really, it was an honor to be with you today. Thank you. And thank you to our audience for listening. And I'm sure that many will be inspired by this incredible life that you created for yourself in partnership, collaboration with spirits. Thank you so much.
thank you. Bye-bye.